going to blow it. It's fine.
No, but I've saved your Sundays.
Judy, ask Mark if he's on. Are we on? I can't. I have too many ways to greet you. I could say Good Shabbos. I could say Shabbat Shalom. Shana Tova. Good Yantif. Lots of possibilities. Take them all. Just to begin, I'm Rabbi Deanna Douglas.
I'm Cantor Norm Rubin.
Right. And we're glad you're here. Now, Rosh Hashanah, despite being a new year, that is, you think you'd want to look ahead, it's a time for looking back. Yom Kippur, despite it be a time of looking back at all the things we wish we'd done and wish we hadn't done, needs to be a time of looking ahead. Because unless we know where we've been, we cannot successfully know where we're going. This is true for me. This is true for you. This is true for HaYam. I want to say a very few things about prayer. This prayer book can be a help, or it can be an interference. If you want to participate in the service, follow along. If not, spend some time with the words on the left-hand side of the page, no matter what's going on up here. It's legal. Or you could meditate. Go inward. Be private. Prayer doesn't have one definition. It can be a communal experience. It could be a private one. Maybe sometimes it can even be both. If you're new to HaYam, or if you're new to this prayer book, you will note that what is frustrating for many people, there are no stage directions. No telling you to stand, to sit, to do this, to do that. If you're unsure of what to do, look around you, ask the person across the aisle, what's going on? We'll try, Cantor and I, will try our best not to overly direct you from the bimah. Having said that, now I'm going to give you a direction. It's really important that we come together as a community, especially tonight, when all of you get an extra bonus for showing up in this place. That doesn't mean that those of you who are listening or watching on live streaming don't get any bonus. You get half a bonus. But the people who are here get a full bonus. But so it's important that you who are here be together as a community. So now that you've settled, I want to ask you to unsettle yourself. Greet those behind you or in front of you. But most of all, get up and greet someone you don't know. Okay. No, Cheryl wants it at the front, so Judy wants it at the front so people can see it. All right. You get the gather them together because you're singing Hashanah. You get the gather them together because you're singing Hashanah.
Do you mind if I encourage the choristers and those who know it as a round to sing it as a round?
Of course not.
Stage direction is there. Okay. Don't need to be a Muslim. But it comes to answer. It's time.
Yeah, it's time.
Okay, folks. Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
So does everybody know each other now?
Ooh. That's a mic.
I don't know what I started.
The rest of our service continues with Hashivenu on page 6 in the middle. Those who know this tune as a round, we're going to sing it twice, and feel free to join in sections. It 1/3 of the way in and 2/3 of the way in. You can start over again, and it turns out to work just fine. So if you know it, or if you want to know it, please sing along that way. If not, just sing with me. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, V'nashuva, V'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem, Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, V'neinu Shuva, V'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Wonderful.
Please join us on page 11, number 3. The first mitzvah in the Torah, let there be light. So we are commanded in everything you do. Be a menorah, a brighter of light. Live with honor. Act with integrity. Do your work with passion.
And the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished. And may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you.
Join us in the blessing on page 11. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner lehadlik ner shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might.
Teaching the holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Shabbat and on this festival of Rosh Hashanah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'hidianu lazman hazeh. Please join me on page 12 responsively. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven.
This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return.
A time to gather round the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession to open the heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community.
This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams, and I am deeply erased by reality.
This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice.
This is a season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us feel strength. When we seek the Holy One, may we find purpose. May we find courage, and may we find love.
We continue with Tikuva Chodesh Shofar on the top of page 15. Tikuva Chodesh Shofar Vakaseh leyom chagenu כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב. ברוך אתה אדוני שומע כל תרועת עמו ישראל ברחמים. תקיע.
For those of you who know Yiddish, that's what's known as a Vorspeise. Page 16. Here I am, one soul within this prayer community. Like those around me, I bring my own concerns and yearnings to this place, hoping they will find expression in the time-hallowed words of my people and in the traditions cherished by generations before me. May I bring the best of my energies to these holy days, approaching this spiritual work with open heart and mind, sincerity, and sustained focus on the deep questions of this season. Who am I? How shall I live? When have I fallen short or failed? This night, I take up the challenge of the days of awe. Cheshbon HaNefesh, a searching examination of my life, a moral inventory of my deeds, words, and thoughts. During the next 10 days, let me face the truth about myself and listen to your still, small voice. Taking comfort in your promise that I am always free to change, released from staleness and routine, let me know the joy of beginning again. May I gain strength as I share this task with those around me, united by our common purpose. Tikkun Midot, improving our character, and Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. I now prepare myself to pray. One soul amidst this holy congregation.
ונפחד מפחד, יושב תהילות ישראל. באתי לעמוד ולחנן לפניך לעמך ישראל. אשר שלחוני אף על פי שאיני חדאי והגון לכך. על כן אבקשך אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. אדוני, אדוני, רחום וחנון, אלוהי ישראל, Shaddai HaYam v'Norah v'hi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh Shetavot Tfilati Lifnei Chisei Chevodecha Ba'avur Kol HaTzadikim v'Chasidim HaTmimim v'Hayesharim ובעבור כבוד שמך הגדול והנורא כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים ברוך אתה שומע תפילה
And so we come to announce this new year. Page 19. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'imatenu Yehi ratzon shenizkeh leverkotecha Bishnat chameshet alafim Sheva me'ot shmonim va'arba. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in this year 5784. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel and all who dwell on this earth with renewed life, happiness, peace, comfort, courage, resilience, and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life.
We continue on page 20 with the Baruch Hu. Please join. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam va'ed. Please join me in reading the bottom paragraph on page 21. May we renew our words of prayer tonight, restore their luster, bring them to life. Let song and silence and shofar sounds awaken our souls.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיכם בהכיר כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. Rolling light before darkness and darkness before light. Living eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv, Aravim.
Please join in the Shema with the High Holiday tune on page 26.
And although there are no stage directions, some of you have grown up in a congregation where we stood for Shema, and some of you grew up in a congregation where you sat for Shema. And so guess what? You do what you want.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. And please join in Ve'ahavta on the following page. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We're on page 33. To break the bonds of anger, to be generous of heart, to break the bonds of shame, to live with self-respect, to break the bonds of envy, to serve one another in joy, to break the bonds of boredom, to be attentive to all God's gifts, to break the bonds of fear, to live with courage and strength, to untie the knots of betrayal, to love with fullness of being, to break the bonds of loneliness, to receive a hand of hope, to break the bonds of self-centeredness, to extend a hand of help. Released from the darkness, our people found their freedom at the sea, and we pray for liberation at the dawning of this year. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
We continue with Mi Chamocha on the middle of page 34. Mi Chamocha ba'elem Adonai, Mi Kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele, Malchutcha ra'uvanecha, Bokeh HaYam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeli anu v'yameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam avad, v'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugealo miyad chazak mimenu baruch at Adonai gal Yisrael.
We're going to be at page 35 and the bottom. There were no signs. By walking, I found out where I was going. By intensely hating, how to love. By loving, whom and what to love. By grieving, how to laugh from the belly. Out of infirmity, I have built strength. Out of untruth, truth. From hypocrisy, I wove directness. Almost now I know who I am. Almost I have the boldness to be that man. Another step, and I shall be where I started from.
We continue on page 37 in the middle with Shomer Yisrael. Please join in. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al yovad Yisrael, ve'al yovad Yisrael, ha'omerim, 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 Shema Yisrael.
Rosh Hashanah in the Pines by Rabbi Hera E. Person, first published in the CR Journal in 2013. Please join me at the top of page 37. Darkness settles slowly across the horizon. The new year had come before us, the fragile moon awaiting our embrace. Heaven was earth sweetening in this annual dance of recreation. A fissure appears to the firmament behind, an entranceway into a new beginning. Out beyond the smiles, the sea expands and contracts, keeping time to the thrumming of the Earth's universe. Under the Rosh Hashanah sky, the path before us is uncertain. All we can do now is hold each other tight, so we
As we
can
make
make our way home.
We continue with the singing of Veshamaru on the top of page 38. Veshamaru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash.
Hatefillah means the prayer. It really has no name, except that, of course, we Jews want to name things, and so we call it Shmona Esrei, the 18-part prayer, which it really isn't. Or we call it the Amidah, which means the standing, because for many people, standing is what you do when you pray this prayer. What is true about this prayer is that it is the central prayer of the service. We're going to chant the first 3 parts together as a community, and then you figure out which of the following pages means something to you, and we'll all reconvene together on page 66, like Route 66. You'll remember that. We're starting on page 42.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh HaKol V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot U'mevii Geolah Livnei Vneihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Zachreinu L'chaim Melech Hafetz B'chaim V'chodbeinu B'sefer HaChaim V'chodbeinu בספר החיים למענך אלוהים החיים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיע ומוגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אמן. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מחכל חיים בחסד מחיה הכל ורחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע מי כמוך אל הרחמים זוכה יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל amen. On page 52 in the middle, Kadosh Atah. Kadosh Atah v'no Rosh ve'en elo מבלעדיך ככתוב ויגבה אדוני צבאות במשפט והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש We rejoin on page 66 with the singing of Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Tasim leolam, ki atahu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom, ki atahu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol eit uv'chol sha'a bishlomecha b'sefer chayim bracha v'shalom ufarnasa tova nizacher v'nikatef lefanecha anachnu v'chol amcha beit Yisrael L'chaim tovim, u'shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, oseh Shalom.
Please, I'm at the bottom of page 69 with the prayer I was never able to pray. Wheel me down to the shore where the lighthouse was abandoned and the moon tolls in the rafters. Let me hear the wind paging through the trees and see the stars flaring out one by one, like the forgotten faces of the dead. I was never able to pray, but let me inscribe my name in the book of waves and then stare into the dome of a sky that never ends and see my voice sail into the night.
Please join in Oseh Shalom Bimromav, the second paragraph on page 70. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
We come to one of the high points of these holy days, and that is the prayer Avinu Malkeinu. Of course, Avinu means our Father, and Malkeinu means our King. But somehow, saying our Father, our King, doesn't cut it. The phrase is Avinu Malkeinu, whatever that means to us, addressing that power beyond us. We'll pray an introduction to the prayer, which is on page 75. And let's pray in alternating paragraphs. I'll start. We haven't forgotten Avinu Malkeinu, though we've overthrown kings and we disobey fathers, and we have no great liking for absolute power.
Akiva stood before you in a time of drought, and his words went up like a flame on the altar. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our ruler. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion for us. He was humble and forgiving, so his prayer was answered.
Tonight, we speak again in a time of drought. Dry ground beneath us, no water, only rock. Not a hunger for bread or thirst for water, but hearts that are longing to hear God's voice. For the sea of faith is all but gone. The tide's gone out on the empty beach.
The world mocks our hopes and life tests our courage. Why do the wicked live on and prosper? Why are you silent when they prey on the innocent? And if your dominion is kindness and justice, why is creation in so much pain?
Avinu Malkeinu, sustain our souls. Send rain to our roots. Help us find a way to pray. Make us humble and forgiving of ourselves and one another. Avinu Malkeinu, renew these words. Help us speak them with conviction and believe their truth.
100 generations have stood before the ark, and they lifted up their voices like flame on the altar, and they put their trust in kindness and justice, and they gave their strength to make the promise real. Avinu Malkeinu, we haven't forgotten. Avinu Malkeinu, bring us back to you. We continue with the singing of Avinu Malkeinu, beginning on page 77 at the top. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'al Aleinu, Ve'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, Ve'cherev Ve'ra'av Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar, Umastin Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu beSefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu. Asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu.
Remember the Thanksgiving hymn you no doubt learned in elementary school? We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chastens and hastens his will to make known. The wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praises to his name. He forgets not his own. Isn't that what Rosh Hashanah is all about? Think about it. Even though it was written by a Dutch poet in 1597, isn't that what Rosh Hashanah is all about? We're gathered together. Yes, I know you're on live streaming, and I'm glad you're here, but we're gathered together. Couldn't you feel the energy in the air that we are gathered here together for something that's ultimately important, that we recognize as important? We want God's blessing. We want God's forgiveness. We want peace. We greeted those whom we haven't seen in some time. We were glad to renew the connection. We greeted people we only see here, twice a year. Familiar faces, even if we couldn't remember their names. We noted, sadly, those who are missing. We greeted newcomers in recognition that HaYam is ever changing. Were you prepared for the holidays this year? Did you get your New Year's cards in July? Or maybe even August? And signed them? And emailed them? Or mailed them? Or do you have to accept that the cards have to wait for another year because the days have slipped by too quickly and here we are, and how did it happen anyway? Had you already begun an inventory of yourselves, considering a year's worth of thoughts and actions and inactions? Or did you wait till tonight to be moved by the power of the season? I am not asking these questions to chastise or to be challenging, but to recognize that we're all fallible creatures. For some of us, it's been an easy year, filled with simchas, the birth of a child, a milestone anniversary, milestone birthday. Sometimes any birthday is a milestone. A clean bill of health. For some of us, it's been a difficult year. Illness, death, financial stress. I hope there's been at least some small pleasures and joys that got mixed in with the defeats and the tsuris. Through all of these very complex feelings, even through them, we are filled with hope and with possibility. We're aware of how far we've fallen from the goals we so strongly made a year ago. There's an ache for what we haven't done, for the people we haven't become that we wanted to become. One term for Rosh Hashanah is Yom Harat HaOlam, the birthday of the world. There's a wonderful midrashic collection, Besikta de Rav Kahana. In it, Rabbi Eliezer says, creation began on the 25th day of Elul, the last month, and that Adam and Eve were fashioned during the first hour of the first of Tishrei this very night. By the 10th hour, they had eaten the fruit. By the 12th hour, they were expelled from Eden in order to make their way in the world. Promise, potential, were replaced almost immediately by failure and struggle. Sound familiar? Here we are. Here we are again, and the days have run away, and the year has run away. And we're faced with our shortcomings and with our inability to live up to the promises that we made last year. It's not that we didn't try. Last Yom Kippur, we closed Ne'ilah determined to do better. We know our lives are limited. We know there is a deadline. We know that we're challenged to be now, today, the people we want to be in the long run. Of all of our possible failings this past year, there's one I'd like to focus on, because I believe it's the human failing at the call of every one of our regrets. It is not paying attention to the people in your lives who matter. We do try, but there is laundry to do, and a client to meet, doctor's appointments, groceries to be bought, a roof to be repaired, trips to the dump, bills to pay, dinners to be made, social obligations. Of course these things matter. They're the fabric of our lives. But we're so busy that we don't notice that we're drifting away from the people who matter most. This is precisely what the rabbis of the tradition call sin. Not the Dante sense, but sin. The Hebrew word may be very familiar to you, chet. We say it in Yom Kippur. You know the phrase. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. For the sin we have committed before you. It doesn't say before you. Lefanecha means for the sin we have committed in your face. Not only in the face of God, but in the face of those you love. You may know very well the etymology. It's an archery term. It's exactly what we've been doing. It means to miss the mark. We miss the mark. Mark is right there, and we're there. Right there, and we're there. We miss the mark. It's not fatal. It's not awful. It's not going to consign us to damnation forever. But it does make us less than who we want to be. I've used this before, but I'm going to use it again. You may know this wonderful book. It's a children's book. It is called Not Now, Bernard. Not Now, Bernard. This is the 35th anniversary of this book. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but there are some beautiful illustrations, and you can look at them later if you want. Not Now, Bernard. But I am going to read it to you. Bernard's father was hammering a nail. "Hello, Dad," said Bernard. "Not now, Bernard," said his father. "Hello, Mom," said Bernard. "Not now, Bernard," said his mother. "There's a monster in the garden and he's going to eat me," said Bernard. "Not now, Bernard," said his father. Bernard went into the garden. There was a monster. And the monster ate Bernard up every bit. Then the monster went indoors. Roar went the monster behind Bernard's mother. "Not now, Bernard," she said. The monster bit Bernard's father. "Not now, Bernard," he said. "Your dinner's ready," said Bernard's mother. She put Bernard's dinner in front of the television. The monster ate the dinner. Then it watched television. Then it read one of Bernard's comics and broke one of his toys. "Go to bed. I've taken up your milk," called Bernard's mother. The monster went upstairs. "But I'm a monster," said the monster. And through the door, the monster heard her say, "Not now, Bernard." It's not much of a book for children. But it's a book for us. Even though our parenting may be long down the road. It is a book about us. First of all, we have all, every one of us, been Bernard. Unheard, unnoticed, unappreciated. Then we have all been the father and mother, preoccupied, pre-programmed, busy. The moral of the story is unstated but hardly uncertain. In all of the busyness of our lives, if we do not take time for the people whom we think we're being busy for, we will have no other time. If all our activities are for their own sake and not connected to those who are at the core of our lives, then they are trivial indeed. That was a book but here is a true story. Bubby never learned the verb to discard. So when she died, her family inherited a stack of daily planners, one for each year covering the period 1948 to 1997, 49 years. Beginning in 1955, every October 22nd, Bubby entered the words, "Call Sylvia," at the top of the page. And each year, those words were circled in red, showing that she hadn't called. Each year on October 22nd, which was Sylvia's birthday, Bubby would write in her planner to call her sister-in-law. But each year, the entry was circled in red. Finally, in 1987, the entry for October 22nd had a line marked through it. The entry read, "Visit cemetery. Tell Sylvia I'm sorry I didn't call." I don't need to belabor the point. Who do you need to call? Who do you need to visit? Who do you need to pay attention to before they die or before you do? I conclude with a short Hasidic tale. The Sagadora Rebbe and one of his students were waiting for a train. The Rebbe said, "There's divine wisdom in everything, not only in what God created in the beginning, but in what we invent today. Everything has something to teach us about the ways of God." The student was dubious and asked, "So what can we learn from the telegraph?" "From the telegraph, we learn that every word is counted and charged." The student persisted. "And from the telephone?" "And what we say here is heard there." They were so immersed in their conversation that they didn't hear the conductor calling the passengers. Finally, they noticed that the train was leaving. They ran for the last car, but just missed it. After catching his breath, the student asked the Rebbe, "And what can we learn from the train?" "From the train," said the Rebbe, "we can learn that because of 1 second, we can miss everything." In all of our joys, in the most joyous when we are present for another person, in all of our regrets, the most painful is knowing when we have not been there for another. The bitterest tears we have to shed are for words left unsaid and actions left undone. Now is the best time. perhaps it will be the only time. As Psalm 39, verse 8 says, Ata ma kaviti Adonai. Now, O Lord, what am I waiting for?
We continue. It's all the rabbi's fault. No. No. Good stuff. Sure. Thanks.
Thank Marilyn Schlansky.
Thank you, Marilyn Slansky. We continue on page 79 with the chanting of Kiddush. Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Boker, Yom HaShishi. Thus there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Vayechulu hashamayim ve'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asah Vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i Vayekadesh oto Kivo shavat mikol melachto, Kivo shavat mikol melachto, Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am veromamanu mikol lashon v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav. Vatiten lanu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ahava et yom hashabbat hazeh ve'et yom hazikaron hazeh yom zichron trua b'ahava mikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim. Udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol haaretz mekadesh hashabat v'Yisrael ve'yom hazikaron. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman
And so we begin to conclude. And we will conclude with Aleinu, that there is a wonderful introduction by the poet Ruth Bryn, which is on page 81. No one ever told me the coming of the Messiah could be an inward thing. No one ever told me a change of heart might be as quiet as new fallen snow. No one ever told me that redemption was as simple as springtime and as wonderful as birds returning after a long winter. Rose-breasted grosbeak singing in the swaying branches of a newly budded tree. No one ever told me that salvation might be like a fresh spring wind, blowing away the dried, withered leaves of another year, carrying the scent of flowers and the promise of fruition. What I found for myself, I try to tell you, redemption and salvation are very near. And the taste of them is in the world that God created and laid before us. It is the tradition of HaYam, and has been for some years, to pray the Aleinu that was written by Rabbi Dan Medwin some years ago, which is on the bottom of page 83. If, of course, you prefer to chant the one you learned from childhood, or maybe adulthood, please go ahead.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא עשנו של שומרי האדמה, והוא שמנו לשליחי התורה, שהוא שם חיינו איתם, וגורלנו עם כל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Our President, Jane Dorval, has words for you.
Shana Tova. As president of HaYam, it is my privilege to welcome you, all of you, to our first of our High Holy Day services, and to take this opportunity to thank Rabbi Douglas and Cantor Rubin for the lovely service this evening. We'd like to also thank Rabbi Douglas not only for this evening's service, but also for her enduring rabbinical presence for the last 20-plus years. Thank you, Rabbi Douglas. You have contributed to our ongoing growth, enabling us to expand both our membership and our programming. In fact, we have not only survived, we've thrived. About 35 years ago, HaYam began in the living rooms of a dedicated and spirited few. Their vision was built on enriching the lives of the few Jews living on the Lower and Outer Cape. Over time, larger venues for services and meetings were needed and took advantage of East Ham's Chapel in the Pines and Methodist Church. In the late 1990s, then President George Wasserman dispatched his wife Renata to seek a more permanent home. She brought us here to the Federated Church of Orleans, where just a few weeks ago we celebrated this friendship with the gift of a native tree and a joint service between Federated Church and HaYam. Hopefully this late winter blooming witch hazel, just to the left of the driveway when you come in the entrance, near the bench, will survive the storm. In addition to our bi-monthly Shabbat services, High Holy Days, and other holiday services, you will find on our website calendar a wealth of educational, social, and cultural opportunities, too numerous to mention here. These activities and more are also captured in our new interactive, link-laden newsletter, which reaches more than 400 email inboxes each month. Pretty amazing for a congregation with no dues. However, in addition to an increase in our membership and programming, much has changed. Some of us will don our face masks again and face all the planning challenges and disappointments that COVID brings. And yet there's more. Once again, we as Jews face an alarming rise in violent anti-Semitic incidents. In 2022 alone, there were 36% more incidents recorded in the U.S. by the Anti-Defamation League. We rarely acknowledge that Jews comprise a tiny fraction of the world's population, 0.2%. We take for granted that wherever we find ourselves for the High Holy Days, we will find open doors somewhere to hear Kol Nidre or to recite Kaddish for our loved ones. But synagogues and congregations are vanishing everywhere. Why then does this particular congregation grow and thrive? Well, the answer is we can continue only if we acknowledge and do something about the changes. Without dues, we function primarily using the funds we collect during our one and only appeal during the High Holy Days. Just once a year, we appeal to you to consider making a generous donation, a donation from your heart. More frequently, we need to rent the facilities of this church or other venues, the rising costs for security, and the requirements for technology support are just two of the many additional costs that we bear. Many of you may not be aware, but at least annually, we make generous contributions to support many of the local not-for-profits, such as Lower Cape Outreach Council and Habitat for Humanity. When our religious education programming can't be satisfied by our selfless members' contributions, we need to seek alternatives that may come with a cost. As fewer of us are able to volunteer to take on some of the tasks associated with our services and programming, we have no choice but to pay others to support us. Your support from the heart, no matter the amount, ensures that our doors remain open to all who seek spiritual growth and social connections to a vibrant Jewish community. You can make your contributions from the heart now and any time on our website, ahycc.org, using one of the links in the monthly newsletter, or with a check using the envelopes that are out on the table outside the sanctuary. It's a special place, and I think just about everybody who comes up here likes to always tell a little bit about why it's special to them. And I can't leave without saying that I would not have the love and companionship of my partner of the last 5 years, Alan Saperstein, had I not been a member of HaYam. I was widowed 13 years ago, he was widowed 6 years ago, and we met here. In fact, we were both ushering for High Holiday services 5 years ago, and we've been together ever since. I don't know if there are any other couples that came out of HaYam, but there could be a second time around. And it's been wonderful for both of us. So it's a very special place. And you meet nice people. Thank you.
That's wonderful. John? John Klein here? Hello, dear.
Shana Tova. Umetucha. I wish our HaYam members and guests a good year and sweet year in 5784. After this evening service, we all have the expectation of returning to our homes fully stocked with nutritious food. However, as we enjoy our bounty, we will need to be aware that, shamefully, food insufficiency continues to exist in our land of plenty. Too many of our Cape Cod neighbors live with food insecurity. Across Cape Cod, 33% of children qualify for free and reduced lunch. Over 40% qualify in Barnstable, Dennis, Yarmouth, and Provincetown. These students receive their breakfast and lunch at school, but their families struggle to find enough to eat on weekends and during school vacations. Thanks to the initiative and compassion of Stephen and Carol Roth, HaYam has been donating food to the Lower Cape Outreach Council for 20 years. The Lower Cape Outreach Council sponsors 9 food pantries on the Lower Cape alone. You may recall that for many years, HaYam collected food from your own home pantries and physically transported it to the LCOC in Orleans. However, during the pandemic, this became impossible. Post-pandemic, we realized that LCOC itself has the ability to purchase greater amounts of nutritious food using our monetary donations. Last year, our little Havurah donated over $8,000 to the LCOC, which is earmarked exclusively for the purchase of food. Unfortunately, the need for food expands and costs increase every year, so we hope to be bringing the LCOC an even larger check this year, a larger check. As always, the ancient wisdom of the Torah speaks to us across millennia. Leviticus Holiness Code, chapter 19 states, "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not pick your vineyard bare or gather fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them to the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God." If we had fields and vineyards, we would be required to leave the grain and fruits growing in the corners and edges of hungry neighbors. However, today instead, we will fulfill this mitzvah by giving generously to the HaYam LCOC food drive. Please either click on our website, www.ahycc.org, to make an electronic food-driven donation or send a check writing food drive on the memo line to HaYam, P.O. Box 1235, Brewster, Mass. 02631. And for your convenience, there are donation envelopes in the lobby.
I'm going to say this more than once, but I'm going to say it starting tonight. You who are sitting here and you who are at home have absolutely no idea what it takes to put this service together. But the person standing to my right does, because she does it.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us here in person and online this evening for our Erev Rosh Hashanah service. We will be having a service here at Federated Church tomorrow morning, and I hope that the weather cooperates so many of us can get here for the service. It sounds like we're going to have a nor'easter, but hopefully that will still allow many of you who are here in person and some of you who are online to come to join us. But please remember, your safety and your security is our utmost concern. And if you have any question about the weather or about getting here, please just go to the website and join us via our live stream. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mark Baker, who does our live streaming. We could not have this technology without his assistance every year. And thank you, Rabbi Douglas and Cantor Rubin, for being with us again this year.
I know it's hard for you to turn around in your seats, but I'm going to ask you to turn around because I'm going to ask Mark to stand up. All right. We are concluding. I know that seems impossible, but it's true. Page 87, if you would, please. Life after death. These things I know, how the living go on living, and how the dead go on living with them, so that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it. And in the spring, the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. If you are in mourning for someone who has died since last Rosh Hashanah, and you are able, would you stand? And would you be willing to say their name and remain standing? Vince Corsini and Dennis Leary. Vince Scales. Jack Wilkie, Fedwell Multi Douglas, David Kukla, and the names of those members of HaYam who have died since last Rosh Hashanah. Dick Bush, Bob Dubow, Rebecca Holmes, Marcia Oster, Ira Selden, Howard Weiner, and Barry Worth. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 90. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach Hirutei v'amlich malchutei v'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam v'almei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba min Shemayim V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen. Amen.
Please turn to page 92 and join in the singing of Achat Sha'alti in the middle of the page. Achat Sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti bebeit Adonai kol yamei chayai לחזות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו לחזות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו.
And if you don't yet know it, by the time that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are over, you will. Please pray with me on page 98. We'll pray responsively. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us
Repentance and atonement.
a year of blessings bestowed and received.
A year of community and compassion.
A year of delight and exultation.
A year of enlightenment.
A year of friendship and forgiveness.
A year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel.
A year of health and healing and humor.
A year of inner strength and well-being.
A year of joy and Jewish celebration.
A year of knowledge and learning for its own sake.
A year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters.
A year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness.
A year of nature protected and enjoyed.
A year of optimism and hope.
A year of peace pursued with perseverance.
A year of quiet and tranquility.
A year of rain in its season.
A year of song and spiritual growth.
A year of Torah study and tikkun olam.
A year of understanding and unity.
A year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome.
A year of wisdom acquired and shared.
A year of coexistence among the families of the earth.
A year of young and old reaching out to one another.
A year of Zion aglow with light for us and all the world. Our God and God of all generations before us, grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound blessings, your gift of life.
Together,
Yes?
together on page 99. Leshana tova tikatevu, Leshana tova tikatevu, tikatevu v'techatemu. Leshana tova tikatevu, Leshana tova tikatevu, tikatevu v'techatemu.
Oh, the books go in the back?
Books go to the back.